Hello and welcome back once again, Predecessor family. I am still Lance Caesar. We've got a small change to our desk. Joe, yours truly, has joined us. Joe, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing just absolutely fantastic. We have a really awesome semis earlier, and I'm really excited to see how this semis is going to go for this bottom half.
Right, and speaking of our first and second semis, we have a quick look we're going to take at our bracket so far, see how it has shaped up, as we only have two series left. In our first one, we did see D-Lab just take the 2-1 victory over Team Rogue. Now we are on to Doctors versus Professors, two established careers, respected careers as professionals, but it doesn't matter what you do in your personal time. This is about Predecessor. We have a head-to-head graphic that we are going to show for these guys as well that compares the stats for the two of these, kind of shows you what we expect to see here. Decently close numbers in a couple of these spots. Moogie, you're our stats guy. Break this down for us.
Well, immediately what you can see is like a much higher KDA on the side of Professors, and Professor has been like a notorious team to always like kill people together. So they naturally have like a very high assist count that probably can translate into that KDA. On the side of the Doctors though, what we can note is like this 6 objective per games, and that is like a lot more than what Professor is doing. So kind of like two different playstyle. One playstyle that love to fight together, securing kills, while on the other side we're more focusing on two objective. In terms of farming though, we're very even between the two teams, so that's not going to be like a big impact. What is interesting though is once again like the team with the higher KDA with the less damage per game, so maybe it comes from like the type of pick. We've seen that Doctors actually love quite a lot some gadget, but also sometimes about the efficiency of securing those kills.
What's also interesting is like the most banned pick heroes, because in the last PCC, Professors love to ban the phase out, but they're actually not really banning the phase at all in this PCC, which like I really think that's actually a good change up for Professors, because like having to ban the phase every single game not only makes your draft predictable, it's sort of like a kryptonite in the sense that if you keep banning the phase, there's also a lot of like pressure you're just not able to like exceed, like not able to ban some of the other prior targets, because in this PCC I really do see a lot of like high priority picks. The early PCC there's only like 2 or 3 really strong picks, but it feels like there's like 4 or 5 super strong picks and you just cannot ignore them at all. It is kind of interesting to see that like the most banned pick heroes on both sides besides the Salas are like the most support picks. So kind of really honing in on that dual lane too, that Professors and Doctors really want to get the dual lane ahead so they can execute their mid to late game strategies well.
I think that that's an interesting point too, Joe. With 3 of the 4 most banned or picked heroes being a support, it shows that both Zihi and Crazy Fool are some of the primary members, which is something, you know, if you're in that solo queue brain, you just don't think about how important your support can be. It is such a crucial role, and the supports in both of these teams really do a lot of the carrying for the other members of it. Specifically Crazy Fool, you cannot give him that Richter if you're Docs. Do you think there's anything else we might see in the draft to kind of give one of these teams an edge?
Well, in a sense, it's pretty interesting because we have seen that the Doctors is also a team that kind of love to experiment on the off lane. Like we know that Snakes, like he used to be mid lane, but he loved to play assassin in the mid lane. It was the mid laner that don't like to play casters. But now we have seen Snakes actually transition to off lane and start playing caster in the off lane with the gadget. So there might be like some space in that direction when it comes from the Doctors. On the side of Professor, however, I expect something like much more like classical. They don't really love to deviate too much from like their comfort, like what they think are strong in a specific meta, which is like Joey was mentioning, that could be like one of their downfall because they become predictable when it comes to draft. But most of the time, that's good success for themselves.
Yeah, the Professors almost want to try to play more consistent picks too at the same time, because it's not the same Professors from the last PCC. We're gonna see a lot of different players on this Professors right here, so trying to like experiment with picks but also with newer like picks up in different roles. Like the Violence, for example, it's like traditionally like an offlaner for them, but he's going jungle, which is gonna be quite a bit different experience for him. It's having a set switches offlane, right? So I really do think that Professors, like, I think it's fine for them to do like the more normal picks, even though it is predictable, just because I think they need to be consistent more than anything with the picks, so they can have consistent player performance.
With that being said, though, we do have our picks and bans ready to go over. It's time to get started on our second semifinals of the day.
And I think it's going to be pretty interesting because both of those teams really know how to draft. And I feel like on the side of the doctors, like we were talking about that, like they're still like trying to get into that final match. Like that's something they want to go, previously known as the chef. And I feel like one of the biggest issue that was stopping them from being able to get there was actually themselves. Like sometimes they go for some witchy fight, and I feel like they really step up in that event and they kind of clean that all of that. But we have seen a few glimmer of their former self yesterday, so I hope for them it's not going to be the case. But here already like a pretty spicy ban first, like the steel ban first. I think we haven't seen that yet, and that's probably targeted towards Professor, while immediately we answer with the gadget ban. We're talking about like gadget is very prioritized by Seismic, but also sometimes being played by Snicks in the offlane.
Yeah, the gadget ban definitely makes a lot of sense. That steel ban was kind of very interesting because I feel like that's the pick that you don't normally just have to ban. It's not like a high priority pick at the end of the day, but maybe the doctors are still trying to shift it up with their picks. But we're gonna see the series first pick by them. I think that's a kind of a good first pick. That's kind of like a very popular first pick in these like drafts. It's the Saurus kind of first pick. The only issue I have with Saurus being first pick is that usually if you see Saurus first pick, you're gonna see a Wowa pick right afterwards because she is just a natural counter to Saurus. Or while like she's very good at disengaging the Saurus ultimate cage. And Taylor, I do like that pick a lot. I think Taylor is really nuts at the moment, especially in off lane. I mean, you saw what Lava can do with Taylor. Like there's a lot of really illegal stuff you can do with that. But instead of the Wowa that I thought was going to be picked up, we're actually going to see Gideon being picked mid instead.
The Gideon does come through, and I'm just going to kind of break away from this for a second. If you know anything about Lance, you know he loves himself some Crazy Fool. How's the Richter not picked in this first rotation? It's up. Almost nobody ever allows that over to the Professors. We'll have to see if the Doctors look to take it in this rotation. Grim's going to come through first. Still have one more hero to pick up too.
Well, and it's actually like interesting that we note about the Richter because like yesterday, like Professor, they played the two games with like these three core, which was Terra, Gideon, and Muriel. Crazy Fool playing the Muriel. Like normally it's not the type of character you really enjoy to play, but the Muriel is pretty strong. And I feel like my doctors also love the Muriel, so I was expecting maybe a little bit more like trying to prioritize that pick, but here we're gonna secure the Grim and the Serat. Serat that can probably go into the offlane, into the Terra offlane. I assume that's like the ID, and kind of maybe forcing Professor, because we know that Survivor, that's what I was going to say, only play two characters so far in the whole group stage, like final stage. It's Grim or Drongo. So if you pick Grim, he's gonna pick Drongo. Like that has been like the only thing that is guaranteed, it seems, so far from those drafts.
And we actually seen Professor ban out the Trim Blast. Maybe they think that that's going to be a Grim mid instead of a carry. But I do want to touch on that Saurus and Saurus kind of pick right there, because I'm seeing that combo quite a lot, that people are trying to like run together, but I don't see like the huge value in that, because I really feel like if you run the Saurus and Saurus together, your team fights can get really volatile. Maybe that's why they ban the Steel, because they don't want the Saurus or Saurus to deal with like the Steel like stuns on repeat, but there's still a lot of other kills with so much CC you have to worry about right there. But the Deku ban coming from Doctors, that's probably like the best ban you can do, because I think the most like crazy duo right now is Stronger Deku. Like you're gonna be seeing a lot of heads just roll off when you have Stronger Deku in the same team together. So I do like that pick to kind of curb the like early game damage potential by the Stronger, but instead of Deku, we're gonna see Miyu, who can also still provide a lot of early game damage and kill threats.
Which does mean we're not going to get to see the Richter on the Crazy Fool is going to lock that Muriel in. Looks like we're still looking for a mid laner and a support over on the side of the Deckers. What would you answer this Gideon with, Mugi?
Well, the thing is, to be honest, I have no idea if the Grim is offlane, if the Grim is carry, if the Grim is mid lane. On the side of Doctors, I've seen Snicks practicing it, I've seen like Seismic practicing it, but we're gonna lock the Argus. And the Argus could be like a support as well. So like there is a lot of option being open. I have to admit though, I'm a little bit surprised that the Doctors didn't try to push the Professor a little bit away from their comfort zone, because like that core of 4 characters is what Professor play every single match, so they really like into like their comfort shoes. They don't have anything really weird happening. I'm still waiting for the last pick. I have to admit that's something I love about the doctors. It's like I never know where the draft is going, and they kind of actually gonna bring the phase that I don't think we have seen a little bit yesterday. I think one phase, and so that's gonna be phase support. Probably then that means we have the Argus in mid lane, the Serat in off lane, the Zarus in jungle, and the Grim as a carry. So not that crazy of a comp, but very low front line, but very doctors type of comp because they are not really a frontline type of team.
What makes this phase pick even more interesting, the fact that the only time phases really pick up in support is if she's going against like a Richter, someone that's like very like have a lot of kill pressure, but putting the Enchanter versus Enchanter is very interesting to say the least. I am kind of worried about the damage output, or rather like the CC, because they don't really have much CC to walk around. I think the phase, while it can keep the Grim safe, it's gonna make the teams like play a little bit awkward in this mid to late game. But we're gonna see Faye Mao, which we haven't really seen at all. But I think with the kind of team comp you already have with Professors, I think a Faye Mao is a really nice way to kind of round out that team comp, having that backline dive and just executing the backline, which you really need to do against the Doctors.
And if you remember PCC 5, where this Professor's roster won the championship, Violence was the MVP of it. He played Grux, and he played Feng Mao, and he destroyed with it. These rosters are locked in. This is who we will see for compositions for the second semifinal of the day. Who has the edge?
Like for me, I have to go with Professors for like multiple reasons. First, like they tried to go for a Serat that can one-shot people, but we have the Muriel Shield to counter any type of dive that the Serat will try to apply. And on top of that also, like we have FaZe, Grim, Argus, we have nothing to stop the Gideon ultimate, and that Black Hole is very strong against those characters because they're usually like all together. And that Feng Mao is also stellar to be able to kill the Grim and the FaZe, and they don't have a lot to peel for it. Only a Dren Nova that already have a lot to do with like other character. I feel like the Professor comp is more well-rounded. It's like full comfort for them, and I feel like kind of counters what the Doctors is trying to do.
I would have to agree with you on that, Moogie. I always like team comps that are not only flexible, but also easy to execute. I'm looking at Professors, they have a very straightforward, easy executable team, and I look at Doctors, and for them to be able to get the team comp working requires a lot higher skill ceiling, but I just don't know how Doctors are going to be able to play team fights against the Professors like this, but we have to wait and see then in this upcoming game.
And the time to see in this upcoming game is right now. This is locked in. Our casters are locked in. Our players are locked in. Let's get into game one of our second semifinals. Take it away, Falcon and Wolfie GG.
Thank you so much, Lance, Mugiwawa, and Joe, yours truly. It's certainly a good day today to be a Predecessor fan. Wolfie GG, the Danish Dynamite here, joining together with the one and only Falcon, the avian in the sky, to bring me a better look.
I was not expecting that one, but we are going into an interesting game, and I have to agree. I think Professor's draft is better than the Doctors. I think just not even the comfort, but just the execution is so much better. The dive potential is so strong because you have that tail, you have that Feng Mao, and then you have the Muriel on top of it. And Gideon and Drongo are two of the safest carries in this game, so you don't have to worry about their survivability in these team fights. And the Doctors, I mean, they don't really have the most engaged. They only really have the Zarus to actually have that point-and-click Colosseum. The rest of it is going to be depending on how they can deal with this dive.
Yeah, a little bit of Fight Club squad going on the Professor's side. Oh, they are swapped. My bad, yes. The Doctor's side going for all of this aggression with only a little bit of lockdown, and around the Professor's side with all of their comfort picks, of course, as Lance just mentioned on the desk. Violence on this Feng Mao is definitely a sight to behold.
Yeah, I was not expecting that as the 10th pick, but I mean, Violence hasn't been around too much in the last couple of PCCs, but he was the MVP for a reason. Obviously, was in that offlane, so in a different role, obviously, and it's going to have a different skill set that's going to be needed on this Feng Mao in the jungle. But if he can get rolling, if he can get a first blood or even just a few kills under his belt in this early game, then he can just 1v9 this game.
Yeah, And that is not something you want if you're over on the Doctor's side. Seismic here, pulling out the particle shredder to push Involve a little bit. But he doesn't really get that hurt from that exchange.
No, it's going to be an interesting... I don't think it's going to be that much happening in the mid lane. It's just going to be a case of farming any poke you can. There is going to be a lot more setup for the side of the Doctors with that Dreadnova compared to Professors. But I don't see either jungler focusing their attention on this mid lane. It's going to be around the side lanes. Switches gets low tier, but so Sneaks.
Absolutely. A little bit of poke here coming from Switches onto Sneaks, but he's holding steadfast. And they're almost even in the HP department, hurting each other equally. Another Highland Hurl is going to connect onto Sneaks, and he's going to try his best to just keep this ball rolling.
This Seraph was a counter hit into the Terror. You don't have any CC, and you can easily escape the Terror once you hit that level 6, but it's still hard to go for it. Involve goes for the torn space into the ground. Violence follows through, and I mean, that's fine, but Seismic can just walk away from that as we see another gank in this off lane.
Mav on his merry way. We know how good he has been so far on the Saris, trying once again to add some pressure to the offlane, and the sign buff might most likely go in the hands of the Doctors here. But say on the retreat, Involve hurting him as much as possible with the Cosmic Grip. You're not gonna survive, buddy. I'm sorry to say, but that's a first blood for the Professors. Sneaks trying to jump in and solve this little problem, but he's getting so low due to the rotation of Violence. Mav is also gonna fall, most likely due to the double blink. 2 kills in the pocket of the Professor squad.
Professor's getting such a good early game. You talked about Violence getting on the board, and he did that successfully. Sneaks is back into tier 2. Violence was looking, but he has no blink. It is quite scary to go in at level 3. But Seismic getting caught out of position, didn't have the mana to do anything against Involve, and losing that rebuff meant that he was completely out of mana, out of position, and an easy first blood to pick up because he used that blink earlier in that mid lane. Yes, the torn space did look a bit weird from Involve in the start, but it forced a blink, and that was the main goal. And now Professors have the 2 kills on their belt. They got a bit of the enemy's jungle as well, so they are starting so strong.
Yeah, and that's a really unfortunate situation for the Dogs. They thought that they could fight it out, and they just lost a few fingers on the way. I mean, they have 6, so they can maybe make do with 1 less.
I'm going to ignore that one, and just go back to lane. However, there isn't really anything Professors can really gain. It is just a case of getting the extra gold, trying to do what they can, and trying to hit those level 6s. Because once Evolve gets that level 6, once Violence hits that level 6, they can look for even more kills. I don't think either team is really going to be trying to sneak these early Phantoms, early mini primes, because it isn't really strong lanes for either side. Kier and Zihi on that side are going to play safe as much as they can against the poke from this Muriel, and on the other side, I mean, Zarus is just so strong in the early game.
Yes, and he just stole the river buff away from Involve's hands. He has to get out of there because Violence is here to say hello with the hamstring and the reaping dash. Getting another kill for Involve. Very confident start here from the Professor squad.
I love this start as Involve goes once again towards space onto Seismic. Violence follows through to get his cooldowns onto it, but the tower shots are going to nearly take him down. He doesn't get around the wall to escape the particle shredder, and nearly loses his life going a bit too aggressive. I was going to praise him for a moment, saying that this start is so good. They're using this Fengmao in the early game to do as much damage as they can, especially against Mav, but they just need to be careful. They need to make sure that they don't get too overconfident, too cocky, because there is going to be a shutdown on that Fengmao.
Involve on his way in through the torn space to try and pressure out Involve, but he's very involved with this situation and just get out of dodge. With their position has been super good so far on the Professor side, but we haven't really discussed the matchups here. So over in the off lane, as you mentioned, Terra is a menace, but what about this composition between the Seraph and Terra? We saw that earlier in the last set.
Yeah, we saw it with Bonjour and Laura. It didn't go very well for Bonjour on that Seraph, but I believe the idea behind it is that Seraph can just escape from the Terror anytime she goes in. She has got that Ascent, she has got the Heron's Fury, so she can dodge a lot of the damage. And, I mean, the damage turn on the Seraph is not the best, especially going that Bruiser build, but going that Charge with the first items means Sneaks is going to have a decent amount of damage, especially once they use that Heresy. And I don't hate it. I don't see exactly the point of this counter pick just yet, and I'm hoping that Sneaks does so to me.
Yeah, we would love to see Sarah do well, because it is not one of the heroes that are picked too often here in the Prime Championship circuit, so it's very interesting to see. And we also are at the final stage, so we have had the pleasure of enjoying a lot of Terra games as long as she hasn't been banned. But if we turn our view a little bit over towards the dual lane, we do see the classic combo of the Drongo Muriel, but fighting up against such a strong combo in the Face Grim. But hold up a minute, Violence is on the way. He's trying to reap dash in with the hamstring, dealing a lot of damage onto Sihi. He has to keep his distance. Cure trying to answer with a displacement blast, and will the root come through on Crazy Bull? It certainly will with the energy lance. He has to telekinetically Cure out of the way, and that ends that little engage.
I am surprised we haven't seen more Phase this tournament. We've seen it a few times, but the problem with the Phase is obviously you have great defense abilities. You got that ability to pull your carry back and make sure they are safe, but the offensive abilities of the Phase aren't there. You only have that energy launch, and realistically it is quite easy to dodge it if you have a wall nearby. So there's nothing Doctors can really do in that lane. They just need to scale up and get as much farm as they can in this early game, and that allows Professors to get that first Fang Tooth. However, Doctors are trying to take as many climbs, only 4k. Switches are coming in as well as the rest of the team.
The pressure is on. Sneaks has to ascend while Involve goes deep with the black hole. Sneaks has to blink out of the way. So does Involve as he's getting very low. Mav is coming in with the Colosseum right on top. Getting a kill for the side of the Ducks, putting them on the board. Oh, I respect you so much, Lance. Thanks for that one.
It was a good chance by Doctors. They did go for it, which I do like. However, Professors got a better reset. Switchers were able to come in with the help of the Reversal of Fortune, and the rest of the team came further back. I'm not entirely sure how they lost that. I believe it's just the amount of damage that Mav as well as Seismic was able to do with that that Synaptic Obliterator, plus just being a Zarus and getting the Colosseum stack. Is going to be very helpful for Mav, who was quite far behind in this game so far. I still think he is quite behind, especially in terms of experience. He has got the same level as Violence, yes, but I imagine Violence is going to be taken over to level 7 rather soon compared to Mav. But the mini prime was not picked up, most importantly, so that is still on the board for either team to look at, and it looks like that's going to be Professors.
The Professors are ready to rock and roll, diving right into this mini prime pit. No members of Docs are in the nearby vicinity, which means that Seismic is the only one that can do anything. The Dread Nova is gonna connect together with the Ether Crystal, but not do much else. Involved trying to get involved with this fight, but he is just making sure that Seismic isn't gonna push forward into this pit, and that just assures another objective into their hands on Professors.
And it's given it over to Violence as well. This Fang Mao that was already part of nearly three of these kills, I believe. Nearly every single kill that Professors has now has that mini prime buff. He's going to have that extra damage and ability to not one shot but do a sizable amount of damage. So we're going to have to see where Professors want to use this. Want to see if they go towards one of the lanes, pushes the tower. I imagine it might be towards that off lane, allow switches to start rotating, especially for that second Fang Tooth. But there is a lot of options for Professors. I don't think Doctors can really respond in this early game, just how strong this Fang Mao is. Yeah, Violence only has 2 of the 3 kills, my apologies, but already has that Malady online as well, so he's going to be trying to stack that up as much as possible.
Yeah, but we cannot forget that Violence was essentially the reason why Involved got 2 kills in mid lane. So definitely doing a lot of work, and it's also just due to the fact that we don't see Fang Mao that often in the current meta. So as soon as Violence pulls that one out, it's a big problem. Mav only just noticed by switches, and he knows how to get back in due time.
Yeah, a good job by switches there. Just not exactly playing safe, but going aggressive when he can, playing defensive when he can. I don't think there's been that much action actually in that solo lane. Mav trying to look for something on the map, just not able to find anything. Meanwhile, in the duo lane, Violence is diving the duo lane, and we see Zihi already gone to low HP, but Violence has also gone very, very low. We've got the rest of the Doctors coming in. I don't know if Seismic is going to be in range of the ultimate. It's probably not anymore.
Ooh, Crazy Bull has to burn the blink to survive that Dread Nova. What a lucky situation for them. Mav trying to jump up and get some damage with the Spear of Nier, but is unsuccessful in its endeavor. So right now, 3 members of Dogs and only survivor here on Professors here at the Tier 1. I'm sure they're just gonna make sure that they can get the gold buff.
It could have been a lot worse for Professor. Not losing anyone means that he can reset. He can go back to base and be ready for this Fangtooth. Especially if they lost Violence, that would have been a decent shutdown on to probably Cure with the GTFO, as well as the fact that they wouldn't have had a jungler. But now they can reset, go towards this Fangtooth. It's probably going to be a 4v4. Doctors don't really have any ultimates. They don't have the Phase ultimate. They don't have the Grim ultimate. And the Seismic doesn't have ultimate or Blink. So I don't think Doctors can really contest this, and Violence once again going towards the duo lane, but luckily for Zihi and Cure, they are already on the tower.
They had their positions in order, and that saves them for another rainy day. Now Professors are situated very closely around this Fangtooth pit. It's going to be the second one in favor of the Professors. If they do get it, they'll get some delicious out-of-combat movement speed, which would help them with the rotations. And we've seen the rotations from Violence. They have been, as its name suggests, violent.
Yes, Nice is rotating into the mid lane, so we've got Doctors all coming over. Tricksters is going to be left alone in this solo side, so Doctors really need to make this count. They are going to try and find someone. I'm not sure if they can, but Snakes is going to catch Involve.
The Dread Nova is connecting onto Involve, and with all of that damage, Cure finally gets a kill on the board. Crazy Fool getting so low to the Ether Crystal. Powerful damage. Seismic getting another one on the board. Now Dogs are finally sitting at an even point in kills with 3-3 and most likely a Fangtooth in their pocket.
Professors are going to get the first tower again, most likely with Searchers. However, Seismic is pushing down the mid lane of the Doctors. The Fangtooth does go over. But going back to that team fight, Sneaks' positioning was so good, waiting for Involve to go back with the Torn Space and immediately catching him the energy launch, getting the root just in time before the Virtual Fortune comes down. And as soon as Crazy Fool came down, the rest of the team collapsed on him. Zihi doing a good job with the link, pulling Sneaks or Mav away back from the tower. So a good zone from Doctors coming back into this game, albeit quite slowly, as I believe the tower was taken, but Sneaks gets the kill on Switches.
Now the ball is rolling for the Doctors. They finally have the prescription and they're about to give you the bill. Hope you can afford it. Seismic trying his best to hold Involve at bay. He does have a level advantage, but Involve has courage, something you cannot put numbers to. And trying his best to stop this disengage, but however, he's gonna get back. Zihi getting pressured a bit by Violence, and he's just gonna show his presence together with Crazy Fool, putting a ward down.
Mav defending the tier 1 tower in the mid lane, waiting for his jungler to come back. I have no idea how Seismic has an experienced lead. I'm going to be honest, he had an awful early game, getting first blooded, and now is somehow in the lead, has got that level 10, so has got that max rank in the parkour swallow. He can use that, sending out those hits for as long as he has mana. So he is definitely in a good position. Mav coming back to it as well, actually has a level lead as well against Violence. I think Violence has been ganking a bit too much and has lost the farm lead against Mav. I'm not entirely sure if that is accurate, at least in terms of the actual farm numbers, but in terms of experience, it definitely is. So Doctors, although they were suffering in this early game, suffering in the first 10 minutes, they are slowly coming back into it, and Cure all this time is stacking up as well.
Well, you could say that the Doctors have the cure for this situation, which allows them to get back. Here's a reversal of fortune right onto Switches, but it doesn't matter. Mav will get his purchase. He's gonna hunt down even with the blink, with the barricade, and the Spear of Nier should be enough. Involve falls as well to the side of the Doctors. Violence trying to go in with the hamstring and the reaping dash. The Earth Shatter is gonna miss onto Say, and that's just gonna be the turnaround. Mav is ready. The lance is connected, and Mav gets another kill on the board.
Ether Crystal meant that the Earth Shatter missed the oh my, that was incredible by Seismic. I was a bit worried when he walked forward again, but just knowing that it was all under control, Zihi also there to make sure that the Argus was going to be free of the danger, and that was Professors going aggressive onto Doctors. They went for the tower dive. Mav and Zihi were there to help the Argus, and although Seismic went so low, he was able to survive for such a long time. I think he did blink as well, as the mini prime is secured by the Doctors. Now they have the momentum. They can start looking. The tier 2, tier 1 towers on the site have been secured already. It's only this mid tower that they really need to press down. And I mean, Professors need to look for something, need to stop this momentum that's coming through the Doctors, because soon this is going to be really hard to go into.
Yeah, they definitely have to start researching their solutions in this little problem. And so far, so good. Professors had a really showing start with Violence rotating really quickly and getting these kills. But it seems that Doctors have found their footing. They're going into this tier 1 tower in mid. It's gonna fall just the same, and Evolve cannot stop any of that.
Sneaks just going into the mid lane, knowing that he doesn't need to be in the sideline right now, so they're going to get the advantage. However, it is going to be a lot harder to start sieging now. The tier 2 towers are a different breed in terms of the defense, because it's so much easier for Professors to rotate to them, and Violence is nearby. It is in the blue of a jungle area, but it is going back to the other side, so Doctors have the numbers advantage. This entire time Switches is pushing this solo side, and the mid lane tower is also taking damage. So although Doctors have the group and they are losing out in farm, they need to make sure that they keep the farm up, because it is still only 18 minutes into this game. Orb 5 has not even spawned so far.
No, we still only have the mini prime available until the 20-minute mark. But that does not change the fact that there are still objectives around. Over in the offlane, Switches is caught in a Colosseum, and you're gonna fall, Sweet Prince. Mav gets another one on the board. His pocket is full of coins.
I don't know if that was the correct play though, because the Fangtooth is spawning within 30 seconds. They need to reset. They need to get back and Q this entire time. It's going to be left alone. That's going to be the tier 1 tower down. And the 4 members of Professors are here. Q needs to run for his life.
And that was not the play to go inside the jungle, because there was involved. See, quickly arriving to the occasion and helping Cure get out with the Hyperflux and the Yoink. Seismic ready for more with the Synaptic Obliterator. The Particles ready, getting 2 kills on the board for the Doctors. They're sitting so comfortably at a 3 and 10 right now, and they're getting their second Fangtooth.
I thought Q was running to his death. He blinked into a Gideon, but Zihi was there. He managed to pull him out. Zihi was in danger. Then Seismic turned up. He got a 4-man Dreadnova stun. That was so clean by the Doctors. This entire time pushing this tier 2 tower. This is the power of the Seraph, just having the auto attack damage to deal with Switches, and Switches cannot deal with anything. The Russell unfortunately is coming through. The Heaven's Fury is going to dodge it, but the auto attacks are going to be enough. Sneaks does go down in the end, thanks to Crazy Fall coming in with the assist, but Doctors are still got the kill and the Fangtooth advantage.
Yeah, such a big purchase for the side of the Doctors, but I do like that as soon as Sneaks was like at 1 chastise away from dying, there was Crazy Fool with the news and say, hey, you're not gonna get my offlane, buddy. Sit down, please. And that has really pretty much equalized that offlane a little bit and alleviated some of that pressure on the Terra.
Yeah, it's going to alleviate the Professor, but it doesn't alleviate the Professor from the rest of the map. We still have a lot of damage on the rest of the side. Kira especially 1-0-3, but has 184 CS. He's going to be back in and going towards that 4th item already. And Survivor not even finished his first. Still needs to buy that Tainted Round. Still needs to get that Demolisher online as well to deal with Mav on this Zarus. And I mean, the big player on Doctors right now is Seismic in that mid lane. I'm not sure how many kills he has, but he's been part of a lot of team fights and his ultimates have been on point.
Absolutely. This is just Seismic. I have only seen Seismic play amazingly well in the mid lane for so long, like since the start of Predecessor for me. But here is the engage from Violence, and Switch is trying to go into the Orb Prime pit. They're gonna lose the Orb Prime to the side. the professor actually stole it. I actually missed that. With the black hole on top from involved, they actually opened up the field for a return.
They're all dying.
But there is the chastise from Sneaks to finish up that little fight, and they lost 4 members for the cost of a steal. That's not worth.
That's definitely not worth. Yes, they got the steal. Yes, no one on Doctors have it, but neither does Professors. Now Sneeze can push down this tier 2 tower because there is no one to stop him. Violence is up in 5, and it's hard to actually see why they lost it so far, but I think it's just a case of Riffy. Doctors had more damage. He was able to keep people alive. Sneaks was able to dive onto the back line with Mav. And although they lost their Argus, they lost their Grim, it didn't matter because the rest of the team was still so fed at this point. Now, I mean, the Orb Prime is gone. That's not going to be an objective on this game very longer. But the Primal is going to be spawning in about 2.5 minutes. This gives a lot of time for the rest of both teams to farm up and maybe look for picks. But if you just see the replay, we just see how well Sneeze got the dice. Switches left in the pit as well and just able to be dealt with Mav and Zihi. And I do like how Zihi has got the link on Mav, making sure that if he goes to that Colosseum, if he gets the pick, they can pull him back and look for the energy launch as well if he can go for anyone on the side of Professors.
I'm sorry, I'm having a bit of technical difficulties over on my end. I sure hope you can catch up on the game so far.
That is totally fine. I'll continue. We'll deal with these problems as it goes through. In the meantime, you get me. So nothing else really happening on the map. It's just going to be a case of farming. The tier 2 tower for the Zero lane is going to be where Doctors really want to strike. They have got Mav as well as the Grim over there. But Sneaks is going to be a 2v1 in ball. Comes through. The Reversal Fortune is followed through with Crazy Ball as well. Sneaks is going to have to run for his life. But it doesn't matter because he was playing deployment. He was playing decoy. The rest of Doctors are going to go over to this tier 2 tower. Survivor cannot defend it on his own. So that is going to be the final tower being taken down from the side of Dr. Sneeze. Again, pushing on that solo side as well, just trying to distract Professors as much as they can. And I do like immediately how Doctors backed off. They know that there's no real point fighting. They can look for the reset. They can get their items that are going to be online now. And the Primal Fang 2 spawning in 30 seconds is going to be their most important cure. Has got the Tomahawk in his inventory, which is rather interesting. It's built towards Demolisher, but although the HP difference is going to be very useful in that second passive, the physical penetration is completely useless on a Grim because all of his damage is magical damage. Riffy, are you back?
Of course I am. Thank you so much for your patience, chat, and thank you for your patience, Choice, Tedium, and Falcon. I am back and up to no good. Right now, we see docks are situated around this primal Fangtooth, but they don't want to engage just yet as they know so many members of the Professor's side are here. They don't want to push it too far, but so far, so good. Just get some vision down.
Yeah, there's no point starting it just yet. They already had one objective lost because they went a bit too early. If they can get a pick first, it's going to be very useful. They are going rather aggressive, looking for anything they can. And I do like how they are keeping together, making sure that Violence can't do anything. But Seismic going a bit of the way. Violence is going to go for the retreat instead, though.
Yeah, and this is a situation you just don't want to be in on the Professor's side, where you just can't really push up with the power of Violence's reaping dashes. Now they're gonna engage. They see an opportunity with Mav coming in with the Colosseum onto switches. Can you switch it up? No, you cannot. Go sleep for a little while, as the rest of the docks are dominantly moving towards this Primal Fangtooth. Now sitting at a 6-17, 26 minutes in game.
Oh. They still have Violence. Violence has done one steal already. He can go for the other. There's not many ultimates left on Doctors. But if they can secure this before it goes off, Violence is in the pit. He's lost.
He lost that engage and lost that little trade. So that's Cure getting a kill onto Violence. And the Primal Fangtooth in the pocket of the Doctors. They're pushing forward onto Survivor. Will you survive? No, you will not. Mav is ready with the barricade and the pressure. You're going down, sweet prince. Sleep tight. And now that opens up the field for the Doctors to go for this inhibitor here in the mid lane.
They didn't have the race set up. It's still in the middle of the path. We have got the duo side for doctors being pushed in. They didn't focus on the race, which was a miscount on their part. But because they were going for the picks, I'm not going to blame them too hard. They have got the wave there finally. These aren't all prime minions. They are going to have to do this the old-fashioned way, but they have the damage.
They definitely do, and they're pushing the professors back. They do not want anything to do with them. And with that, that's just the end of their middle inhibitor. Switch is trying to push a little bit forward, but Cure over on the other side getting the second inhibitor over on the duo side lane. Violence trying to follow in pursuit. Can he get this return kill for his squad? No, he cannot.
I mean, Violence, I'm just looking at his build now. He has Penumbra, which, I mean, in Brawl works really, really well because you're part of multiple kills. But he was part of the first 2 kills Professors had at 5 minutes in the game, and since then has only died 4 times. Professors has only gotten 3 kills in the last 20 minutes or so, and it's just not really worth it as an item. There could have been so many better options. Even Tainted, the Tainted item for Assassin, or Tainted Trident, I believe it's his name, would have been useful against the healing of Mav, against the healing of Zihi. And I mean, even getting Perforator online or Demonster online, depending on what you wanted, it would have been more useful. But Professors are going for maybe a pick. Zihi walking in first, but Mav sees him from the side.
A little bit of an energy lens as a warning shot to tell the Professors to back off, as the Doctors will engage on this Orb Prime. So many members of Professors are ready to take this fight to the entire way. They actually managed to get the Orb Prime over on the Doctor's side despite the engage from Sneaks. From Switches, and he's gonna go down. Cure and company just demolishing the Professors one by one. 4 out of 5 members have fallen. There's only Survivor left. He is definitely a survivor because his entire team was sacrificed in the process.
You say that too early. Stasis round him. The TTFO comes through. He's using the ultimate, but it doesn't matter because Sneaks is just going to press you and kill you. That is how you play Seraph in the off lane. There is no one left alive on the side of the Professors. Doctors are going to walk down, take the core, and under 30 minutes, they will take the first game.
Well, the Doctors just swiftly said, call an ambulance, but not for me. As they aimed all their guns at the side of Professors. They could not handle it. Despite the eloquent efforts of Violence, it just wasn't enough. I mean, that's just the end of that argument. It was just the power of the Doctors. I mean, I'm ascending right now, as you can see.
That's why you had issues earlier, I guess. But yeah, I mean, Professors had a really good early game. They got 2 kills on that Fang Mal, but they just weren't able to convert it. They lost that round at second Fang Tooth. They lost the fight around that Mini Prime. And once Q actually got out of lane phase, once Zihi was able to start rotating, helping his team, helping link up with Mav, link up with Seismic, Doctors just felt better as a whole team. And Professors, although they had a few chances, they were there. They did get the steal on the All Prime. They were just too little too late at that point.
And with that said, we just have to wait and see what they cook up in game number 2. We're going to send it back to our desk with Lance, Josie, yours truly, and Mugibawa.
Thank you very much, Wolfie and Falcon. Game 1 is complete. Not looking good if you're a Professors fan. What did we see there?
Yeah, I have to admit that Professor got slaughtered by the Doctors. Normally the Doctors are supposed to save life. That was not the case in that match. And overall, I think there was like a big oversight by myself when I analyzed like the teams, because I felt like the Doctors have a very good, like the Professor has a very good comp, and they kind of show in the early game, they started to get like some early kills, but they have a comp that is very reliant on playing with their ultimates, and so they need to get their ultimates together, and I felt like they don't really have done that. And as soon as you fall behind, you don't have any CC, you're fully relying on being able to protect through shields and dealing enough damage, and it wasn't the case because they fall behind, and then like Doctors run away with the game.
Yeah, another reason I saw that Professor struggle in this game was the fact that the dual lane presence of Survivor and Crazy Food wasn't really felt at all this game. And I felt like for this team of like having newer players on like the offlane jungle, especially you want to play even harder for like the more veterans dual lane, but like Crazy Fool like doesn't seem like he can really get it going on the chance of support. He's very much plays the best when he's on Richter or someone that has a CC, have the engagement or peel, and I think maybe it was just actually a bad pickup for him because I didn't really see Crazy Fool doing Crazy Fool stuff this game. I feel like he has to just go on Richter or someone's CC if he wants to be able to make the team plays that Professor needs from him.
We will have to see if those adjustments can come out in Game 2. But before we take our break, we have to announce we've been doing it all day. We're going to keep doing it. Another Platinum giveaway, 500 Plat up to Twitch chat on Twitch only. So if you're watching this on YouTube, come over, pad those stats on Twitch for us as well. Exclamation point ticket in it. We'll run it through this break. We'll announce the winner when we're back with Game 2 for our second semifinal. Welcome back, Predecessor family, and specifically Kratos the Gamer winning that 500 Plat giveaway. Get yourself a common skin, save it, add it up with your other ones, get yourself a little bit better of a skin. Congratulations, we still have 2 more of those giveaways, so make sure you stick around on our Twitch. But we have to talk about that last game and what we expect to see a little bit different. We talked here on the desk about potentially prioritizing Richter as a hero for the side of Professors. We think that that's kind of their bread and butter. We're going to take a quick look at the stats for Richter and what we've seen for him throughout this event to see why we think this is a priority for either of these teams.
So we can see here we have like around like a 40% like pick rate, and the ban rate is not super high. Mainly like we have seen probably towards Professors because Crazy Fool is very known for it. And we still got like a pretty hefty 53% win rate, which is like overall pretty good for Richter. So from like how this game has gone, I feel like the side of Professor, they need to change something drastically, and maybe going back to the Crazy Fool Richter can be an option.
Yeah, the only reason I can come up with why Professor is not as keen on picking Richter every game is the fact that I think Richter has solely fallen out of the meta, and he got kind of replaced a little bit by more of the range supports, like the really aggressive support, especially by like Decker and Muriel, and that's kind of why you see Crazy Fool on the Muriel pick. But if you have seen Crazy Fool and Muriel, you know those two don't go together well at all. So I really think that Crazy Fool has to get a kind of a CC support when it's at Decker or Richter. He has to play someone that he can initiate and peel for this team, because it kind of felt like last game he didn't really have much say on the flow of that game.
So we've identified the idea of potentially changing up their support pick, making some adjustments to the duo lane side for Professors. What other adjustments might we be looking for them to make this a competitive series?
I have to admit, like, if I'm in the shoes of Professor, like, it's very, very hard. We get absolutely dumpstered on a composition that is like our bread and butter that usually we love to see. So you're a little bit like, I think, having an existential crisis at the moment, and I to be honest, I don't really know, because like they're kind of this one-trick pony team that have like their comp that they go for, and once that doesn't work, they get a little bit lost. So
yeah, I really want to see like more from the dual lane, because this is kind of like the star of the show for the team is the Crazy Fool and Survivor. I feel like this next game is going to be make or break depending on this duo's performance, and to do that I think we need to have a team comp that can better support Survivor, especially in those team fights. Being able not to walk up at all in the last game made it so hard for Survivor to really do much, to the point that people were just asking where he's at. Well, he just can't walk up is the main issue. So I think you just really have to get a better team comp for Survivor to work with.
Well, will Professors make those adjustments? Will the doctors prescribe another L for them, send them back to the university to grade some papers? Picks and bans are ready to go underway for this. We should get going right now. Professors does have that first pick, I believe. Mugi, do we see them prioritize this Richter that we keep hounding on?
Well, I don't think you need to prioritize it very early. To be fair, I think like can be like the third pick if you want, like in the second round. Of course, here we still want to prioritize the Zarus. We probably still want to prioritize the Terra, even though Switches wasn't having like a huge impact on the Terra. I still believe that you cannot like fully let it for the Doctors.
That's kind of a surprising ban coming Professors, because I know Doctors were piloting that sales offering like very well, but I don't think that was the main problem from last game. I think the team comp was the biggest problem for Professors, and you have a good team comp where you don't have to worry about the sales because sales can't play into a well-rounded good team comp. But we see Doctors banning out the steal once again. I guess they really just dislike the steal because I think some of the picks that like to play just don't mesh well going against Steel right here.
I think so as well. Also, you know, just the impact that the Shield Slam can have on a team fight, all of the disruption, the wall, everything that Steel brings. We do have this first pick coming up for them here. We'll see if they decide to take it, put it into potentially their mid laner's hands, if they try to prioritize their dual lane. The Grim is still available. We saw Cure have a pretty good game on it last. Maybe they try to take that away, but actually it looks like they're going to lock in the Terra.
And maybe that's one of the idea behind the Doctors draft. Like we have seen like the Doctors, like they banned Steel previous match, and maybe like Switchy's hero pool in the offlane is not that deep, and that's maybe why like they know that it's either Steel or Terra, and so they kind of be able to control the flow of the draft. And so of course we're gonna answer with the Zarus. When Zarus is available, we're gonna pick it, and finally we get the Doctors that get the chance to get this gadget already with the Coliseum on Zarus, so a good combo, and can go on Seismic or on Sneaks. They are very open on where they place this gadget.
And you can see why Gadget is banned a lot, especially from the earlier draft, because if Gadget's not banned, Doctors is sure as heck gonna pick that up, and she's gonna make a very nice combo with the Series, because already you can see some daily combos with the Series Cage and the Gadget ultimately afterwards. That's a lot of like AoE, crowd control, it's gonna be really hard to play around for the Professors.
I love Gadget and Zarus together. This is the Lance F6 duo heroes. I'm a Gadget main, he's a Zarus main. We run people down in solo queue with this. We are going to see the Gideon answer from Professors. I'm a little surprised to see Gideon directly picked after the Gadget. Normally not a great matchup for the Gideon, not only in lane, but in the team fights too.
Yeah, and I feel like here it kind of shows that Professor, they have their comp, they want to shoehorse it in no matter what, because yeah, when I see Terra, it's already like, oh, okay, Terra cannot really go into a gadget. And then I thought like, yeah, but Involve plays mainly Gideon, so he's gonna pick Gideon, and like this dive comp into a gadget, it's not gonna work well. So at least we secured a Grim.exe that I feel like can be like a little bit better because you have a little bit more range than the Drongo. But still, like I feel like the core that we're starting to build inside of Professor into a gadget is gonna be rough.
Yeah, and that Myriad pickup is going really hard on that Wombo combo series, jumping in Myriad alt afterwards, Gadget alt afterwards. The Doctors is actually going for a heavy team fighting combo. Professors are kind of just doing the same picks pretty much. And I'm hoping from that last game they change up the last two picks, because if they don't, I think this is going to be just another repeat for the first game for Professors. I really want to see the Deco Richter pick, because obviously that's a Myriad support. Doctors can only ban Richter or the Decker. I really want to see Crazy Phil on the CC support, because if he doesn't go there, I think it's going to be really hard for the Professor to do these team fights.
I think it's going to be hard as well, not leaving a lot of options available. Also, another thing to focus on, what do the Professors potentially want to take away? The ADC pool still pretty open for the Doctors, only the Grim taken off so far.
And we're gonna see this Richter being banned. To be honest, I feel like Richter would have been good because they need something to pull people towards them, so they have a way to engage without having to dive into that enemy comp. And like Doctor said, like, yeah, we're not gonna let that happen. So Professor gonna remove the Drongo. Drongo like been considered one of the top carries, so at least making it slightly harder for the Doctors. Also, like Drongo has been the carry prioritized to go into Grim, so they will have to go for something else. But still, it's shaping as a David against Goliath kind of type of comp.
And we see Doctors locking in the Aurora. Again, playing for the wombo combo, very heavy team fighting calm. That's actually probably one of the best pickups they can do right here. Now the question is, what's Professor's gonna answer to that? Because they have a solid core away with the Terragadian and Grim. They just gotta round out a little bit more. They probably really want to do Decker support. I think Decker in the hands of Crazy 4 is gonna actually be really good for them. Like, this is actually looking kind of rough already. What do you think, Lance?
I think that they have to go Decker here, or something, like, especially with the Steel Band as well. Steel Band, Richter is already banned. Muriel picked up on the side of it, really pinching that pool for Crazy Fool. I don't know if there's much left other than the Gideon. Looks like Quang's going to be the first one to come in, but I want to talk about the Doctors really quick. Aurora, Zaris, Muriel, so much ways to keep somebody inside that Tesla Dome. We do see the gadget come out from Professors as we were expecting.
And we're gonna like finish with the Quang Decker. That actually allow for maybe having an aggressive lane with the Decker and Grim, so maybe that could be like the light at the end of the tunnel. Like Joey was mentioning, like we need to have that dual lane to shine on the side of Professor, and they definitely have pick to do that. However, if they don't shine, Quang, Terra, Gideon, they all need to go in. And now on top of the gadget that we were talking, now you have the Aura to reception you as well. That's never gonna work in teamfights, so you really need to pull ahead in the early game.
And the last pick of the Doctor side is going to be the Trim Blast. So I actually really liking both team calls. I'm really happy that Crazy Fool is finally on Decker for once, because I think that's going to really help the game plan a lot more going into the second game.
I think so too. We do have the rosters locked. We are set. We are ready for game 2. Before we kick it over to our wonderful casters one more time, give me your last thoughts on these compositions.
Well, it's the same story in a sense. I love the composition of Doctors from how they played the first game. I think they're gonna pull it out, and I feel like Professors needed to adapt more, and it wasn't enough in my opinion.
I'm going to lean a little bit more on the Professors this game, only because I think they have a team comp that can finally make the dual lane shine. I think in terms of like pick potential, I think Professors has a little bit more of that consistency. I think as long as they can kind of respect the gadget more than anything, don't go too hard when gadget tests themselves up, I think Professors can win out in these team fights.
We will have to find out the second game of our second semifinals of the day. Do the Doctors lock up a date with D-Lab for the big prize? Do the Professors push it to a game 3? Woofy, Falcon, help us find out.
I saw the Afterlife and then I got thrown right back down here again from the Ascension, as there's another game to be had here in the second semis of PCC 8 between Doctors and Professors. Woofy GG, the Danish Dynamite, back again together with Falcon to bring the views into words.
Yeah, I still need you, Ruffy, there. I'm not comfortable casting this entire game on my own, nor will it be as hyped if I just do that. But I do agree mostly with Mugi here. I do think Doctors' graft is a lot better. Yes, they haven't really changed that much from the first game. The carry, you just fit any carry into a team comp mostly, let's be honest. And the gadget, Zaris Aurora, is such a good trio that I don't see an issue with it. Obviously, Muriel is going to be a little bit more of the shields, less of the safety of that pool compared to the phase. But I mean, Zihi is still a very good player on that. But just going on to the Professor's draft, again, I just don't think there's been enough change to it.
No, it kind of feels like the same, but different in this case. And I don't know, like, as you mentioned, I'm worried as well if they can actually manage to pull it together and turn it around. I'm actually... Most of the times when I see so many good picks go through for one team, it kind of gets my bias going, if you know what I mean. I'm kind of leaning towards the Doctors already when they're having Aurora, who is amazing at gap closing. We got the microwave combo in the Colosseum from Zaris and the Tesla Dome from the Gadget. It's just, I don't see any hole in that strategy at all.
No, but if we do give it to Professors, Grim is still a very strong pick. I think Survivor's going to have a better game on that, and then Crazy Fool on this Decker, on something that actually has CC, because I think that was one of the biggest issues with the last comp, where, as I said, if you get behind, you just don't have any sort of way to lock down the enemy. With the Decker, you have that in spades. Yes, it's still not going to be as strong as the Doctors, but at least you have a chance. It's not a guaranteed CC, you still have to hit your skill shots, but especially with the containment phase, it's going to give you at least a chance in those team fights, and it's not going to allow the likes of Sneaks, the likes of Mav to go rampant for free. Yes, War has got a lot of movement abilities, has got a double jump, has got the glacial charge, but it at least distracts them, at least disrupts them for a time, so it should give the chances of Evolve and Survivor to actually do the damage that they need to.
We're gonna have to wait and see. We're most likely just gonna take a short break and return to you with the actual game as we figure out these technical difficulties. Stay with us for just a little while. Welcome in, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, to game number 2 in this best of 3 between the Professors and the Doctors. WolfGG, Danish Dynamite here, back with Falcon.
And we finally got into game. Immediately, Professor's going for a 5-man invade. There is going to be no one available, and they're going to just walk into vision. See, he sees all of them available. And immediately, we can see on the other side of the map, Doctor's just looking, maybe going for an invade of their own. But Professor's just puts a ward by the 5 camp. So at least they're going to know, maybe, where Mav is, or at least if he does that 5 camp, nothing going to be coming of it, but a nice invade nonetheless, just to see if they can find anything. And I think the big question with it is, Doctor's comp is very similar to last game in terms of having that Zarsa's main engage, but Sneaks is the one piloting it this time. And I mean, Mav has been an absolute monster on Zarsa's tournament. Sneaks is a bit more of an unknown.
Well, Sneaks did really well in the last game on the Serath, actually managing to win against the Terra on the lane. Switches did really not like the mid game forward. So we'll have to wait and see how he performs on the Saris, which we have seen has done a lot of good effort and good value for any kind of lane they've been put in.
Seismic already having the blink. He has not been having a good time in this early lane phases, either this game or last game involved. Just hitting those auto attacks, hitting that big old meteor main that he can get to level 2 now. I'm not sure if he's going to go for the Taunt Space or go for that Void Reach. It just depends on what he wants to go for. I think he'll probably go for the Taunt Space. Seismic is just playing so safe, so far away. This gives Involve so much ability in the early game.
Yeah, and moving over to the duo lane, Zihi and Crazy Fool respectively both getting very low. The only one really being healthy right now is Cure, as the pressure has gone through here in the first few minutes. There's a grenade, it's not gonna connect, but still a lot of good efforts going on so far. Mav is coming into the off lane with the Hoarfrost. The blink is gonna come through from Switches. He's gonna try his best to survive another day, but Sneaks and Mav on the hunt, and they are getting it once again. We're getting a 1-for-1 in the early game. That's the first blood.
But Professors get the first blood first. They get the kill. So I think double to stun on the duo lane of Doctors, but there's going to be no follow-up from that. Going back to it, Seismic losing that blink in the early game meant that the Violence had such an easy target. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but from the map, it looked like Seismic was caught in the middle of the lane, have nowhere to run, and an easy pickup for the side of Professors. Obviously, we saw the kill on the other side. Both blinks are burned from the off lane and jungle, or just from the off lane, it looks like, on the side of the Doctors. And I mean, it's a 1-for-1 at the end of the day. It's going to be dependent on how they can use these leads in the mid and the solo lane now.
Yeah, and Professors, they have actually a potential risk of going out of this tournament, so they have to pull out all the stops and do their very best to get it to a game 3, because this is their last chance, as Docs just got a definite victory in game number 1. So they really feel the pressure now, and I would feel the same way if I was in that same situation.
Yeah, but Switches actually has the wave control in the solo side. I'm not entirely sure if Sneaks got a reset or decided to try and bounce away, but a slow push is going to be about 2 minion waves pushing in under this tower. It's going to allow Switches to get a Cheetah recall if he so wants, get to that free back to get some items, but I mean, he has only just returned to lane. There's no real reason to, so instead he's actually just going to try and get that wave bounce back towards him, make sure he's not in a dangerous position. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, just everyone pushing as much as they can. And I mean, talking about this Gem Blast, I wonder what build Q is going to go, because we have seen 2 different builds so far in this tournament. It has gone the Marksman Crest, which leans towards more of the on-hit, the Stormbreaker, the Sky Splitter, but we have seen that Infernum, that Vanquisher build that a lot of carries have favoured recently as well.
Yeah, we actually discussed this some days ago with the Pen Twin Blast being back in action. So we'll have to wait and see how that's gonna turn up throughout the game. The on-hit is, of course, the popular choice, but Cure does already have the Chalice available, so we'll see what that will be built into. Mav going in and taking out this camp for the Professor side, so Doc's really on the aggression today.
And I'm not entirely sure who gained that. It does look like Mav got the level up, so mostly from the Doctors. And that's actually really bad for Violence, because I just saw on the map, Switches took the 5 camp away from his own jungler. So that would going to leave him only with the 2 camp, as well as the ganker Seismic is still in danger.
Is gonna be pressured up against the wall by the powers of Involve and Violence. And those are the 2 ingredients you need for a kill on the mid lane onto Seismic. You're trying to push forward and pressure Survivor and Crazy Bull, but it's not gonna lead to much so far.
Yeah, I don't think IO2 lane is going to be actually looking for a kill anytime soon outside of jungle intervention. The Seismic just not having a good early game. Obviously, Gadget needs a lot of time to scale up. She needs at least 2-3 items to really start hitting those big times. Not even level 6 yet. Doesn't have that Telesur Dome available. Has got the Blinker back, so at least that's going to give Seismic a bit of safety in that mid lane. But already, Violence showing his presence in this early game. Obviously, not playing the Fang Mouse, so doesn't need to snowball as hard. The Krang is still going to be very valuable no matter really what happens. And I mean, just the tether, the knock up, as well as the shield, just gives him so much durability. But so is Aurora, so is Mav on this character, and it is going to be a question of how these junglers play. Both of them still level 5, not haven't hit those level 6s yet. Mav looking for the mid lane.
Sneaks is away, and Mav is ready for the mid lane engage onto Involve. The damage is coming through with the Photon Laser, and there's literally no way you're gonna die from this, because the team is ready to turn on Mav. The Violence is there, and that's the stairway to heaven. Survivor getting another kill on the board for the Professors. Now they're on the retreat as Cure and he tried to get a hold on to Survivor. The grenade is gonna connect after a blink. Cure is returning.
It was a bit too aggressive for the Doctors. The idea was good, the play was good, but the rotation from Professors meant that the side of Mav did die. Switches gets the solo on Sneaks. I'm not entirely sure how that happened, but it looks like both of them used their ultimates to the effect of Professors winning that trade off. So that is a good sign for Professors. But going back towards that kerfuffle in the mid lane, I mean, Professor's Doctor's rotation first. Mav did not know that Crazy Fool as well as Survivor was there as an easy pickup, but the returned Cure using the blink aggressively to just at least get something for his team. So this early game, very similar to the first game where Professors has the kill lead. They have the momentum. I'm going to have to see if they can actually keep it this time.
Yeah, we just have the question of 5 fingers versus 6 fingers. Which punches hurt more? We'll have to wait and see as this game progresses. But as we saw in the last game, the start was really good for Professors, and then Doctors turned up the heat as we reached the 10-minute mark. So maybe it's the same situation here. It's all up to the players of the Doctors to turn this around. Multiple members of Professors are ready for the first objective of this match. It seems to be the Fangtooth Pit, but Mav and Sihi close by. They are caught in a landslide, and they might be hurt too much to recover. Violence going deep and getting a hold on to Mav. A black hole on top of Seismic will make sure that he has to blink out of the way, out of dodge. But Violence may be a little bit too far forward. He has to keep his distance. And at the end of the day, Professor's got a big purchase out of that.
This deck is doing so much work so early on. It looks like Dr. Steel want to fight this, but this is such a bad idea. You haven't got the numbers. The Colosseum is going to be used. Survivor goes down. Crazy Fool is also caught. There's no Tesla though, but it's not needed. Survivor is going. Crazy Fool is also going to go down to Sneaks. The rest of Professors are running. The Zara's pickup is going to be beneficial, like it or not, from the side of Professors. A good rotation from Sneaks once again in the series. You have Mav returning and Kyrzihi. There is plenty enough damage to take this early Fangtooth. Professors are spending a bit too much time going for the aggression. They got to pick on Mav. They should have immediately turned, but they went for the mid lane play afterwards, which led to that happening.
Thank you for breaking that down, Falcon. As always, it's just what we just mentioned. I think they heard us on the desk that they turned it around as soon as we reached the 10-minute mark. It was 10 minutes in game and they start turning it around. It's like they had a watch ready with an alarm that said, oh, now we're turning on them. It's 10 minutes. And they just went for it, getting 3 really, really competent kills that helps their case a little bit more.
Yeah, the Fangtooth as well is going to be a big boon for this squad. Not the earliest Fangtooth we've ever seen in the game. It's going to take a while for that Prime to spawn. The mini Prime is still available, and Switches has got more farm. Densities is a level up against the Stars due to rotation, so that's at least something Professors can use, and I don't think Doctors can really contest if they do go for this mini Prime. And just look at their violence, look where involved. They are just standing in the fog of war. Doctors need to check if this is actually happening, and you can see on the side of Sneaks and Mav, they're just jumping over the wall, putting the wall down, making sure that Professors aren't going for a sneaky mini Prime, which they now know is not happening. Instead, might get another fight in the mid lane with so many people around there.
Yeah, this is definitely all random, all mid, besides the fact that they have all picked their heroes. They want to make sure that this mid lane is under control and involved is trapped in a loop of deaths and misery. So far, so good. Sihi helping out. As over on the dual lane, it seems to be a little bit hairy so far for the side of Doctors, but over in the off lane, we see Switches getting engaged on by the Colosseum. The blink coming through from Switches to keep himself alive, opening up the field for Survivor in the beginning to get a kill.
That should be mini Prime easily secured by Doctors. Switches has already used the blink. The Colosseum has been used, yes, but Mav still has the Crisis, and the Reversal Fortune is still available from Zihi. They are going to lose a tier 1 tower in the dual lane though, so I don't think this is the best trade in the world. You are going to have to use this mini Prime. It's not something you just gain for free. Mav is going to have to look for at least a tower in response. Kira is going to get the minions under that tier 2. Just going back to the kill on Kira, the Crazy Fool came from the fog of war, got a nice hit onto Kira, and just a burst came through. And speaking of Kira, his build is the Infernum. He is going that pen build. The DPS is not going to be the strongest, but the burst sure is.
And sometimes you just need burst, especially against a target like Grim, who seems to have a lot of survivability and sustain available, especially with that bubble that allows you to get some mana back that just keeps you alive for a long time. So maybe Cure has cooked up a plan to make sure that that doesn't happen.
I think Twin Blast is actually a pretty good counter into Grim. Obviously, it is quite easy to spell shield at least one of Twin Blast's abilities, but you can just keep him Vortex grenading until he uses it, then go for the all-in, just baiting it out. Otherwise, Survivor is just going to take so much poke from that Twin Blast. He has to use it eventually, and you can also use it against Zihi on that Serenity with the Muriel if he so wants. So there's a lot of options to try and burn that shield away from that Grim if Doctors want to, but the objectives on this game haven't been around this dual lane so far. Yes, you lost the tier 1 tower. That's because Zihi was rotating over. The real question is, what is Mav doing with this mini Prime? Because at the moment, it is nothing. You have got the first Fangtooth. You have got that 50% extended buff on this mini Prime, so they have got a bit more time than usual to use it, but they need to use it soon.
Yeah, they do not have much time available to them any longer. They have to get some purchase out of the buffs they have gained. There is a beautiful stasis bomb onto Sai, and he is caught inside of a troublesome little fence. But he does manage to get out, as Crazyful and Involved don't want to get any more involved with that situation.
We're not going to mention what has happened to Mav there. We're just going through. As Switches does take the second tower of the game Professors, and it's going to fight in to Sneaks. The reversal forces come through, but it does not matter. The CC is not helpful. The damage is, though, as Switches is going to go down to the 1v2. Fangtooth is spawning rivalry team, but there's another fight in mid.
Involve is on the retreat together with Crazyful. They realize that this is not an amount of damage you can handle right now. And also, with the Doctors moving towards this second Fangtooth, they might get an even bigger purchase after pressuring 2 lanes at once.
I mean, they don't have the actual advantage because all those switches is that Sneaks is still pushing in the solo lane. It is a 4v4 at the end of the day. Criticism is available, as well as a lot of ultimates. The Tesla Dome, as well as... Oh, sorry, the Tesla Dome is not available. Reversal of Fortune is not available. Cure has no blink, no ultimate. This is something that is very dangerous for Doctors to actually start compared to Professors. The damage on Cure is insane!
He has to keep his distance. He's getting blocked with the help of his support. Oh, that was actually Mav blocking that GTFO, but at the end of the day, Survivor will get his purchase. Mav answering truthfully in response. So that's 2 members down, 1 for each team, which opens up this fight at the Fangtooth pit. Violence trying to get in with the tether, Delightment, and Judgment of the Heavens not gonna connect. He's trying to get back again at it. And it's a little bit too late as the dogs assure the Fangtooth.
As soon as he withdrew that sword, that was the attempt done by Professors. Violence just not confident in going for it. He had no idea what the actual HP was. No one in Professors had the line of sight to get that HP value for him. So a second Fangtooth for the Doctors on near spawn, which is good. And I mean, that could have gone a lot worse. Kyo was definitely out of position. Mav luckily was nearby and got a good amount of return damage. But Survivor has 4 kills, has over half his team kills on this Grim. It's got 2.5 items building towards that Sky Splitter. So this Grim is going to be something that is going to be a issue later in the game for Doctors, and especially with Crazyful having that CC, having that lockdown to allow Grim to just auto attack. It is going to be interesting to see if Survivor can actually get the carry in this game.
Yeah, and Cure right now just trying to get some space on other lanes right now. It's not really the play, as you know, the opposing side with the Grim is actually getting stronger and stronger every second. Survivor really getting a lot of farm and kills. So I do not understand this rotation from Cure. However, the Professors, they're playing it pretty safe and not really overstaying their welcome because they know what happens once the fight begins. Meanwhile, Switches is getting engaged on by Sneaks, and the rotation is there with the Colosseum. He has to blink out of the way after the reversal of Fortune. But Violence trying to get in and help. It'll not help the situation a lot because he dies.
Mav is still here as well. It's going to not hit Switches. Switches able to use their Wild Rust to get away, but that is going to open up the towers. That's going to be 2 towers in quick succession taken from the Doctors. At least 4 Professors. The Zero Side Tower wasn't actually collected properly. They didn't have anyone within the area. It was taken by minions. That is going to be a loss of money. As Survivor goes down to half HP, has to use the blink. The Glacial Charge was good. That is going to open up the mid tier 1 tower for Doctors to take. This is going to be the last tower for them to take in terms of the outers. So a lot of money that has just been secured from the Doctors.
Absolutely disgusting performance from the Doctors right now. You are proud of them if you are a Doctors fan. Look at Involve getting involved with the situation, killing off Mav with the black hole, opening up the field for the Professors to move over and most likely get themselves a mini prime right before the main or prime spawns.
Yeah, a good pickup. The black hole was used to make sure that Mav could not go away. I'm not entirely sure if Mav didn't have the glacial charge available. He should have been able to get away, but he didn't. So a nice, secure, nice kill. And I don't know who they're going to give this over to. It's going to give over to Violence. Just wanted to make sure that they do secure it with the hunt. And like you said, Riffy, that is going to be up during the Orb Prime because that is going to be the big next objective. Doctors haven't really got anything else on the map they can really go for. The tier 2 towers are still a bit too hard to push in at this stage of the game, with the death timers being as they are. So they need to try and look for a pick first, and it's going to be hard because a lot of the characters that professors are playing have got a lot of safety. If they can really hit the Grim, if they can kill Grim, then that is going to be the best choice. Violence is also another very good pick for Doctors to get, but they need to be careful because if they go too aggressive, if they go too balls to the wall, it is going to be bad.
The return is definitely something that they have to be careful about. You're here in the dual lane all by his lonesome. He knows that there is a troublesome opponent nearby, so he's keeping his distance and most likely not gonna push any way forward, just gonna get that farm. I really like the positioning from the Doctor so far, just going for the lanes that have already been pressured. Here in the off lane, it seems that an engage is happening onto Survivor. They call a CM on top. You have no blink, buddy. And with the Spear of Near, it's just going to be an insult to injury. Another kill for the Doctors.
I'm not saying I'm a prophet, but I did say 2 minutes ago, if they can get a kill on Survivor, that is going to open up the Orb Prime, and that's exactly what just happened. Yes, the Colosseum used, yes, the Reversal of Fortune was used, but that is the main damage source from Professor's gone. They only have the Gideon's Black Hole, is only really magical damage. Switches is on the other side of the map. This should be an easy secure. Violence is in the area. He's stolen one. He's not going to steal a second one. That is going to be the Orb Prime for Doctors at 20 minutes in the game.
Absolutely disgusting to see Mav close off the pit with that glacial charge. Even trying to pull out a stasis bomb that just bounced off of the wall. Unfortunate for Professors, but such a big purchase for the side of Doctors. Has taken out pressure any lane they want.
We don't need lanes. The third Fangtooth just spawned. This is their third. This is their 8% damage buff. If they can secure this as well, it's going to be a great point. Sneaks going for the reset. I'm not entirely sure I like this on Doctors. Yes, they have a lot of money that they can use, but this opens up the pit for Professors. If they can be decisive, they might be able to go for it, but because they're delaying so long, because Professors aren't in a place to actually capitalize on this, this is totally fine. But they need to be careful. They can't get caught in the pit. The rest of Doctors are now here. Seismic is to the side. This is going to be a 5v5. If Professors play this wrong, this could be game.
Well, the side of Doctors are walking in with their brand new sneaks, trying to get themselves the third Fangtooth. There's little to no contest, which is absolutely none from the Professors, as they have to get out of there. But that's a double bubble buff for the entirety of the Doctors, which allows them to go as far as they like. Pure and multiple members of the Doctors over in the dual lane side trying to push up against this tier 2 and maybe even an inhibitor.
Yeah, inhibitors are definitely going to be under threat during this push. It's not a double buff just yet, Riffy. You're going a bit overexcited on that one. It is the third Fangtooth. Primal hasn't even spawned yet in this game, but they got the tier 2 Enduro. They're going to go and rotate into the mid lane. Sneeze is trying to push up as much as they can, but it's going to take a little while. They haven't really got a push. I would love to Sneeze to have gone over to that solo side and got the wave person over there in the meantime, but they're just going to play it safe. They're going to play it one at a time, try and get as much as they can. Stu is going to do a lot of damage to these towers with his penetration build. Isn't going to be hitting that fast, but every auto is going to count, and that is going to go down so quickly. They can now look for these inhibitors.
And the pressure is on. The Professors have to stop this onslaught onto their base. But they really can't push forward right now, as they have both buffs available over on the Doctors. Witches can barely do anything against Sneaks here in the dual lane side. And in mid lane, they got 4 members to fight with, even with their photon beams and everything at their disposal. The only thing they're doing is pretty much just delaying the situation.
They got the wave clear. They have a decent amount with the Grim and the Gideon. The one I'm worried about is this duo side, but Sneaks is taking quite a lot of damage. Just taking tower shots from the inhibitors, so that is going to delay that push at least. There's another mini wave coming up now, but again, just the wave clear coming in from Professors is pretty good. There is some damage on the inhibitor. Mav is going in.
3-man crowd system to open up the party. Mav going right in.
Black hole.
Inhibitor has fallen in mid. The black hole on top. Will it do much? Yes, it will. It'll allow the team to survive another day, but Sneaks is still very deep up against Violence, trying to make sure that he cannot survive another day. He has to get out of the fray. He is too low now, and he cannot survive much more pressure. He's going back with the rest of the doctors, but they managed to get an inhibitor.
They got the inhibitor, they got a 1-for-1 trade, the carries are dead on both teams. And I don't know how Involve didn't do more damage with that black hole. It looked like it hit everyone. I'm going to have to put that to Zihi, just shielding so many people with that Everbloom, having that damage reduction, plus just those shields being so useful at this stage of the game. But Professors get the defense. They don't lose too much. They still actually have a tower up as well. So it definitely could have been worse for them. They do need to make sure that someone is defending that mid inhibitor at all times, but they have a few moments. They can press this out, they can reset, they can buy anything they can, as the same is the same is to the doctors, because there's going to be a lot of money under these people. They have a lot of items already. We see here with 4.5 items building into another penetration item, probably the resolution actually, as that is a slight misleading thing. So it's building to its 4th item right now. We saw Sneaks with 4 items earlier, and Imagine Seismic is also having that 4 items reached as well. So Doctors in a very good position in this game.
They've definitely gained as much as they could. Every single time there's been a slight mistake from the Professors, Doctors have been ready to answer, and it has been a really unfortunate situation for them, as they had such a strong and deciding early game, but now it's pretty much evened out, except for the fact that Doctors have gotten so many more objectives, like all of them, and at the same time pressured several lanes up to the inhibitor.
Yeah, just the press has been so good from the Doctors. They have got Zihi on the other side of the map just pushing through, which I do love. The Reversal Fortune is always going to be useful as a global. It allows Muriel to not be always stuck to their team, which gives them their own gold as well. And Kira is actually gone towards the Ironwood Bow. Not entirely sure what that is going to be building into. It does look like he is building into something else, maybe a Deathstalker at this stage of the game, give him that attack speed from the penetration. But the Orb Prime is spawning very, very soon. Same with this Primal Fang to Zihi continuing to farm as they support the rest of the Doctors around this Orb Prime. The Professors are here as well. This could be very well the last team fight of the match.
With that said, the engage is on. Crazy Fool and Survivor are the only ones around the pit in time. Switch is coming together with Violence to try and add a statement to this situation. But here it is. The Colosseum on top will trap them inside the microwave. Time to get boiled up. Pure Solo, he has to keep himself out of the fray. Sneaks as well, falling surely but slowly. Pure coming in with the Vaporize to get a hold on to Survivor. Involve is on the run. The Tesla Dome on top. The whole team of Professors have fallen. This is the opening. This is the middle. And the curtain call in one fell swoop. They're gonna go for the mid and most likely going for the core. You've seen it here, folks. You finally have your 2 finalists. The ones who are going to face D-Lab in the finals are the one and only Doctors.
They finally do it. Took a name change from it took a name change, but the Doctors are finally secure at their trip to the final. Just a dominating fashion in both of those games, doing such a good job. They had issues in the early game for both of them, especially for Seismic, but they bounced back so strong. Mav playing out of his mind. That is my MVP for this set for sure, and just had such strong objective control. They got 3 Fangtooths in this game. They got multiple Fangtooths in the last game as well. The Orb Primes outside of a Lucky Steal were all theirs, and once those team fights hit, once those 5v5s were activated, it was just Doctors every single time.
And that is just the power of the Doctors. They managed to defeat the previous finalists of the last PCC, Professors, and are now going to face the other finalists of last PCC, D-Lab, which you might already know because we've hopped on it so much. They are the previous champions. Can they keep their championship belt? Or will we have a new winner in Doctors? We're going to send it back to the desk with Lance, Cecil, Mugiwawa, and Joe, yours truly. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, Wolfie and Falcon, and welcome back to the desk. I am still Lance. I got Moogie and Joe yours truly with me. We have our final set. Doctors is able to take down Professors in our second semi. What did we see from Doctors that helped them claim this victory, Moogie?
Well, it kind of looked that the game was maybe close because the kill was very, very even on both sides. But that's where, like, Predecessor is not about kills, it's about objective, it's about structures. And basically, Doctors got all of those and they ended up winning. Like, the Professor got schooled, there is not much else to say.
Yeah, it's again like the problem of Professors is like the offlane and jungle were on the weaker performance again for this game, and another big problem was the fact that Crazy Fool Duo it did better, but the kill deal was just as good or even better in some cases. Professors didn't really have a side that's just winning hard that can just capitalize on to help them win these team fights.
They didn't. So we have it set. The money match. The winner goes home with a bigger pot than the loser in this next one. We are going to take a short little break. We're going to come back with a new desk, but before we do, I want to give Moogie a chance to say goodbye and do some plug-in.
Well, as usual, thank you for having me. It's always a blast, and I'm gonna enjoy watching that finals. Like, Doctors and D-Lab, the two teams looks amazing, and so I'm gonna have like some good times, and I'll probably see you in the next PCC. Thank you, everyone.
Me and Joey will be back with another desk member after this short break for the finals of PCC 8, Doctors versus Dirty Lake and the boys.